All right. Well, good evening, everyone. Thank you, everybody that has shown up. I'm sure we'll probably have some more people add on, but we don't want to waste any more time getting started. So welcome to REI Live Orlando, our virtual meeting for this evening. We're sorry we missed this last week, but glad to be able to have the opportunity to reschedule and do it this evening. So welcome again. So we'll go ahead and jump right into it. And I don't have my mouse working here. Can everybody hear me? Just go ahead and tell me maybe in a chat if you can hear me. I just want to make sure I'm using an external mic. Okay, awesome. Thank you so much. All right, great. Well, tonight we're going to be talking about driving for dollars using the DealMachine app. It looks like my screen's a little cut off there. Okay. And Josh is here with me, although I'm going to be the one primarily talking about it, but he's always with me. So I just put our names on everything together. But I wanted to start tonight with the top 5 secrets to success, because this is something that some other person that I know in the real estate investing world out in the rest of the country, not here locally, reached out to me the other day and said, you know, he wanted to learn from me what my top 5 secrets to success were. And he was kind of doing a poll among various successful, or at least in his mind, successful investors to see what really made the difference for them in building their businesses and becoming successful. And I thought that that was a very good thing to start with, because you're going to need this in anything that you do, including driving for dollars, if you want to take it seriously. So I'm going to start with this evening. So secret 1 is to get laser focused. And if you've been around me for any length of time or ever had a conversation with me talking about real estate investing or your business or wholesaling, you'll have heard me talk about these things because they really are so key. I started out kind of being a jack of all trades, and I'm always happy to learn new things and try new things. And that has just been so detrimental to me over the years. I do best when I laser focus on one thing, get really good at it, and then start looking at other things. So it's not that I can't still accomplish many things in my lifetime and do various things. I'm certainly going to do that, but to try and do everything at once is going to inhibit your results compared to trying to get very focused on one thing and get good at it. So that's my secret number 1, is get really laser focused. Our business didn't really start to take off until I stopped trying to do a bunch of side things, working with other investors, trying to, do little side businesses to make ends meet, work part-time jobs. When I really just cut everything else off and went after one goal, that's when we started getting really good at what we were doing. So what you should ask yourself, and you see here the little book, not the little book, but the book, The One Thing, and it's how to get extraordinary results. So what's the one thing you can do such that by doing it, everything else will be easier or unnecessary? And this is something that they encourage you to do in every area of your life. What's one thing in your relationships, in your business, in your marriage, in your health, and your finances? So certainly you can be focused in multiple areas in your life. We all have those areas, but choosing the one thing to focus on in each area that is really going to cut out the rest of the fluff of what you might do, because it's very easy to be busy and do a lot of things, and it is very hard. And we know this statistically because very few people are really that successful in life. It's very hard, or at least takes a lot of intention to be very focused on the one thing that you can do, that if you do that, everything else is going to kind of fall by the wayside and you're not going to have to worry about it anymore. So this is a very important question to ask yourself. And then also, marketing is the basic key for the success of any business, if we're talking about business specifically. So you really need to make sure that you're laser focused on being a marketer. We all have the different business vehicles that we have, but at the end of the day, if we're not marketing, then we're not going to have any lifeblood coming into our business to keep us churning, unless we get very lucky, and that's usually not going to be sustainable. So you have to ask yourself, how intentional and consistent are you in your marketing efforts? If you're somebody that kind of dabbles here and there until you get a deal, or you're always just trying a bunch of different new things, you're spread very thin, you're not really getting consistent results, and you're not really dialed into any one channel or marketing strategy, then you might really want to do some soul searching and ask yourself, what is the thing that you really want to focus on, and how can you become more intentional and consistent with it? And then different ways that you can do marketing, and all of these are fine. It really doesn't matter which one you choose. You can also choose multiples of them, but again, I would suggest taking one and getting really good at it first. So there's networking, Certainly you can network in groups like this or other local groups, meet people that might be doing deals, connect with people that might be selling deals, or if you're buying deals, looking for people, I'm sorry, I'm saying that wrong, or if you're trying to sell a deal, connecting with people that are buying deals. So that's one way, networking. Testimonials, if you have done deals before, then certainly you can use that for marketing if you were going to try and just promote yourself as kind of like a brand that people can trust and that sort of thing. A lot of people do that with online ads. Direct mail, I'm sure you're all familiar with. Online ads, PPC and Facebook and SEO, all those sorts of things. Bandit signs, cold calling, there's so many things that you can do. But again, which one of these, if there's one, are you actually really intentional and consistent about? And is it performing in a way that you can track? So you know exactly what you're doing, exactly what your results are, and that everything else kind of falls by the wayside when you're really dialed into that. So if that's not the case for you, if you're not super dialed into at least one channel, then that is going to be a major thing for you to look at focusing on. You really need to figure out where you're headed. You can't be headed all over the place all the time. You just won't get anywhere with doing that. And then using targeted lists and methods to keep costs down, and keeping costs down, are all very important. And that's what we're going to talk about this evening, is the driving for dollars. It's one of the most targeted lists and methods that you can use to do more deals if you know what you're doing with it. And a lot of people will go out there and they'll drive around and they'll, write down a list of addresses. And then it's kind of like, I know my husband and I used to do this. We would drive around on a Sunday and we'd have our coffee after church and we'd just go driving for dollars. And we had so many lists that never actually materialized into actual marketing. So be careful what you're doing. Like, that was a diversion for us. We enjoyed doing it. It was fun. But at the end of the day, it really had no purpose because we weren't being intentional with it. So make sure you're not being one of those people. Secret number 2, progress, not perfection. And I see this trip up so many people in so many areas of life. They feel like if I don't have the perfect setup, if my ducks are not all in a row, then I can't even really get started because, I just need to make sure everything's right first. That's going to cause you problems if you live your life like that. So no matter where you're starting from, the secret is just start. So take effective action daily to make progress over time. If you're not taking effective action daily, then you're not going to make much progress. That's just all there is to it. So if you want to be successful and you've got, the shrink wrap courses still sitting on your shelf, then, that's a sign to you that maybe you're looking for something to be perfect and happen for you before you're willing to just go out there and take some action and get the progress over time. And this is something that I believe it was Einstein said that you get the best education through experience, and it's not going to come to you from books or other people. You can get a wide array of different types of education, different knowledge from books and other people, but you're not going to learn the same things that you're going to learn from actually just going out there and getting the experience. So it's very important, if you're kind of light on action and really heavy on education, that you start to consider for yourself, really, where should I be putting my time? Is it really with getting more education and knowledge, or is it getting out there and taking some action, getting some results? Because oftentimes your time is going to be short. If you're anything like anybody in the world, your time is short. So you have to be very judicious about how you spend it. And if you're spending a lot of it on education, like, I don't want to turn you off from education with us because that's what we're doing here at this moment, but hopefully it's for a purpose to take an effective action after you get off of this education opportunity. So be careful about where you go for education and how much you're actually trying to take and for what purpose. Be very focused on your education as well. And you will learn more from your mistakes than from your successes. That's just the nature of it. You might have a string of successes and feel like you're on top of the world, and then you have your first real mistake and it teaches you the things that you never learned through all those successes. So be aware that making mistakes is part of the game. You need to make mistakes, fail forward. The more you fail, the more you actually really do learn, and the more you'll learn to protect yourself in the future from any mistakes. Which is not to say that you can't learn from other people's mistakes, because you can and should. But, after a certain point, if you're not out there making your own mistakes, then you're never going to be successful with anything. And if you want to succeed, you have to get out of your own way and go after it. I see so many people try to get started with real estate investing in one or another strategy, and they just are always going to hold themselves back. They're very, very interested. They think about it all the time. They talk about it all the time. They are educated severely. And at the end of the day, they're still just not getting out of their own way and taking any action with it. So again, progress, not perfection, is the name of the game. And massive action is really required. I put this here. And I had this visual talking to one of our team members the other day about the momentum that it takes to really get out of the dip that we all get in. So, you say you have a job and you're trying to get into real estate investing, you're going to go through a period that it's going to become kind of drudgery if you're not careful. You have to make sure that you know your why, and you have to keep driving after it with massive action to get the momentum to, like in this case with this GIF or whatever, for her to be able to get up there. And she was actually the first female, I believe, if I understand the story right, that actually accomplished this. And so it's a huge feat for her to accomplish this, and it took the momentum to get up there. So without the momentum, you're never going to get out of the dip to the other side. And that's where so many people fail, because they get stuck in the dip and they're just kind of piddling around and not really doing a whole lot of anything, or they're doing too many things that there's no real direction for, and they never end up getting out of the dip. And so they might go back to a job, or just give up, or worse yet, even lose a bunch of money in the dip. So you have to have the momentum to get out the dip to the other side to success. You must be willing to put forth massive effort to get things going properly, and be willing to do more than the next person is willing to do if you want to win. And that's not a competitive thing against other people, but if you're not an A player, then you're not going to be able to accomplish what the A players are accomplishing. So you have to be willing to go above and beyond and do more than everybody else is willing to do, which is not really hard, because most people are not willing to do a whole lot. Secret for the compound effect. So that massive imperfect action taken on a daily basis adds up over time. And most people don't really think about this, but it works both ways. So every moment counts in your life, every thought counts in your life, every choice, every act, and it works in the positive and in the negative. And the image there says it's always working. You can choose to make it work for you, or you can ignore it and experience the negative effects of this powerful principle. It doesn't matter where you are on this graph. Starting today, you can decide to make simple positive changes and allow the compound effect to take you where you want to go. And I'm sure we all understand this if we really stop and consider it for a moment, but so many people live their life so unconsciously, and so many investors try to operate a business and get going in investing so unconsciously that they end up with poor results. So if you look here, all these different things that are going on in your life, you're looking for results in, you make choices, you have behaviors, you develop habits, and that's what decides if you're going to go into success or stay neutral in life, which, the law of entropy, nothing really stays neutral. It's always going to decline. So the likelihood is that if you're not doing something consciously to compound your impact for a positive purpose, that it will compound in the negative over time. And I'm sure there's many people in your life that you've encountered that you can think of that this is the principle at work for them. But realize it's the principle at work for you as well. So you need to make sure that you use it intentionally. Secret number 5, data, not drama. This is such a big deal for people, and most people don't realize it. This is why most people don't have thriving businesses. If you don't know your numbers, you actually don't really have a business. You have more of a hobby, and you're probably not ever going to be able to scale that up into something that's going to really work for you. It's not just about what you've made on a deal or for the year or even over a decade. I mean, you can make a lot of money in real estate, not really knowing your numbers, not really having a business, just kind of doing it on the side as a hobby. But if you're really trying to build something that's going to be consistent and return to you over time and eventually work without you, then you need to know your KPIs so that you'll be able to scale up, hire other people, hold them accountable, and make sure you get the results that you're after. So tracking those KPIs or key performance indicators to make sure you know the results you're getting from what you or your team are doing, and you can plan and make decisions accordingly. And do not try scaling up your business without getting your KPI tracking on point first, or you will likely waste a lot of money and fail. And I would almost remove the word likely and say surely waste a lot of money and fail, because really, if you don't know your numbers, you're just going to start throwing money at stuff to see what sticks, and you're not really going to know how that translates into the actual results that you're getting. So you really need to get your data dialed in and know what you're dealing with. So all this applies with Deal Machine. So as we move into finding deals with the Deal Machine app, I wanted to just say this is something that's good for you if you want to do your own deals, if you're already in real estate investing, or if you're just getting started and you're not really sure how to get involved and you want to learn. This is a good way for if you want to network with other investors like ourselves. You could send deals to us or to somebody else if you want to be on somebody else's team. And when we close those deals, you get paid for it. Now, depending on what you do in the process, I mean, if you're just sending us pictures of houses, then, you know, it's not like we're splitting deals in like 50-50 manner. But if you do a lot of the legwork on the deal, we can certainly coach you along and stuff, and, you know, you can get bigger deal splits. So if that's something that you're interested in speaking with us about, let us know. But signing up for the Deal Machine app, if you haven't already done this from the stuff that we sent out the past couple of weeks, you can sign up for our Deal Machine driving team to profit with us at DealMachine.com/team/Agape Homebuyers. So that would be if you want to get on our account, and then as you drive and you add houses to the app, then it'll come into our system and we will do the marketing to them. We'll reach out to the homeowners. We'll be doing all the follow-up. We'll do all the work of trying to get the deal. And if and when a deal materializes, we'll know that you're the one that sent that to us. So you'll be contacted. We can stay in touch with you, let you know the status of any leads that you've sent us and that sort of thing. To use our promotional link, if you want to sign up for your own account and get 15 deal credits, and the deal credits are good for sending mailers, for example, you can sign up for DealMachine.app.link -REILiveOrlando, and that'll give you that promotional, not a rate per se, but it'll give you that promotional bonus. And then there's the Chrome extension for virtual driving, which I'll go over tonight. And, you know, it's got its pros and its cons to virtually drive, and I'll explain that later when I go through it. But I think it's a really neat thing to be able to do. This is something that if you wanted to hire somebody, say in the Philippines, for a few bucks an hour to drive virtually for you, you could do that. So there are ways there for you to leverage really cheap labor to do something like this even online. Again, it's got its pros and cons, so I'll address that as well. Now, the cost for Deal Machine, they do start with a 14-day free trial. And if you use our link, you'll get the 15 free deal credits. The basic program is the $49 a month, and it's good for you and one person. So you can have one full access user, which would be you, and then one deal finder can be added. So you can add another person that has the ability to add deals for you. I recommend that you get the additional, this driving route tracking right here. It is an additional charge per month, but I use that and I really, really like it. And it's good to see where your people are driving and so that they don't overlap. So especially if you're going to have a team of people driving, you might want to use that because it'll show you where everybody's been so they're not driving over each other. The professional plan gives you a little bit more. You get 2 full access users and up to 2 deal finders. You get a little bit better cost on the deal credits. And then the enterprise, that's the one that we actually have. So we can have up to 300 deal finders and 5 full access users, and we get an additional discount on the deal credits. So far, I've really been enjoying using it. And so now I'll go into a little bit more and show you how it works. So Deal Machine features, and this is just a clip of showing you, you know, some drives that I did recently, or Josh and I did recently, and you can see where we drove. So it's nice that you see that feature, and you can even look at it on your screen and be like, oh, I missed a road as you're driving. So it really does help you to track where you're driving so you don't miss anything or overlap. But it has the route tracking. You do have to turn it on when you're driving or else it won't automatically do it. It's very easy as you're driving to drop a pin for a property, and I'll show you that in a moment. You can take a picture of the property. You don't have to. Deal Machine's pretty cool that it has the feature if you take a picture, or if you pay a little bit more to have it pull pictures from, I think it's from Google, from the Street View, it'll put the picture on the postcard for you. And you don't have to use those postcards. You get different templates you can choose from. You can also make your own template, I believe. But if you want to put the picture on the property, and it can be an actual picture that you took, not just some old Google image that isn't even accurate anymore, that's a pretty powerful way to market to people directly and personalize it. You can skip trace the owner. It'll return their phone number and email. And so that's nice. And obviously, if you have one of the higher tier plans, that's cheaper. You can start postcard mailing campaigns right there in the app. When you click on one of the properties, it'll give you the option to add it. And if you add it, then you can go ahead and start a mailing campaign right there from the app. You can skip trace it right there in real time. Again, I'll show you all this in a few moments, but I mean, this happens very quickly. It's all just a couple clicks on your phone or on the computer as you're doing this. You can export lists for other purposes. And I'll tell you, I have primarily done our lists and then I have exported them to go skip trace elsewhere because I have a better rate somewhere else. And then I put it into different systems for our mailing and cold calling and all the other things that we do. So I personally use it that way just because it suits my needs better. But I know a lot of people who solely use Deal Machine for all of their deal flow. So you can really focus on this and have it be a self-contained, I guess, sort of CRM and everything. I'll get there in just a moment, but you can also import lists for skip tracing and mailing. So if you have a list, maybe you did write down a Drive for Dollars list and you want to go ahead and add that in, you can put all those properties in there and it'll skip trace it and add it to your list, and you can send mailers and all that. And it can be used as a CRM. So if you want to keep track of your seller communications and all that sort of thing in here, you can. It'll also track the deals as they go through different statuses. You can use it to update those. If you want it to connect with other systems, like we use Podio, I can connect this through Zapier to other systems that I have. And again, if you have the higher tier, you can build a team. And it's kind of fun once you do a certain level of activity, it awards you badges for your activities, and if you get a deal and that sort of thing. So it's kind of nice. It just kind of cheers you on. And you know, if you never get any badges, you're not really taking any action. So that's a good feedback system for you as well. All right, and then here you can see, this was just from this past, not even quite a month, that these are the properties that were added in our system. And so it's got KPI metrics that it'll track for you. So as I was talking about tracking your KPIs before, it's really nice in here because if you use this as a primary deal seeking strategy and you also use it as a CRM, it will really track your KPIs for you on a number of points. So it'll take the properties added like here, mailers sent out, the profits that you've made from the deals, your total investment, including anything that you've spent on skip tracing or mailing or the actual subscription service itself, and miles that have been driven, the time that's been driven, your active deals snapshot, which includes things like pending approval with marketing, marketing complete, appointment set, offer sent, follow-up, and offer accepted. So again, it will track a lot of information in there for you, and that's all data that you need to be able to know if you're running an effective business or not. And you've got to watch those numbers over time. If you don't have your numbers for the past 6 months or a year to be able to look at what the real trends are, don't assume that just because you did something for a week and got a certain result, that that is going to be a consistent result for you. You really need kind of to see it averaged over time. But this will help you do that because it will track it over time for you. As you can see here up at the top, it's got 4 weeks, month to date, year to date, custom. So you can look at a number of different filters there. And types of property owners that you'll find when you're on the Deal Machine app. This is actually an image from my computer screen that I was doing this on because I was recording it and it was easier than on my phone. But this looks very, very much like what's on the actual phone app. And so you see that there's different mode that you can click on, and I'll go through all this in a moment, but you can search locations and owners. So anything that's in the system, or if you want to look up an address, you can look it up in there. And here's what it looks like. So I have this actually as a setting to show me the property number as I drive. So I would be driving along and I would be passing past those properties. And if I saw one that looked dilapidated, I would just click on it. Oops, I went to the wrong thing, sorry. I would just click on it and it would open up a screen and give me some information. Now, one of the settings that I can set is to highlight certain types of properties. So corporate owned, I believe, is blue, and then bank owned, they don't give you an option to show those because they say don't really waste your money on those. There's no point in marketing to them. The corporate owned, send them a buyer's card because the likelihood is that if they've taken the time and energy to put a property into an LLC of some sort or corporation, then probably they're going to be a buyer more so than a seller that you really want to be marketing to. Private owner occupied, reach out to them for sure. And absentee owned, those are the ones that are here in green that are highlighted. So if you want to just be looking at the absentee owned properties as you're driving, this is an easy way to show you where they are. Moving on, map options. You can look at that standard view that I just had it on, or you can look at a satellite view. So if you wanted to, say, look for areas that were really wooded versus more urban looking that didn't have as much vegetation, you could see that from the satellite. I'm sure there's many other things that you could look for that way. It'll show you the past driving routes, as I mentioned, so you turn that on, and it'll show you any routes that have been driven in the past however many months so that you don't overlap. Or maybe you know, hey, I drove this one over a year ago, maybe I want to drive it again now. So that might be a good cue to you, hey, I need to go back to that one, it's been a while. The label type for the properties on the map, as I said, I had the number, so you can choose the address number, the full address, the name. It'll highlight the properties here, as I was saying, so you can highlight by owner status. So I had an absentee. You can do date sold, so it'll do like in the past, you know, more than 2 years, more than 5 years, more than 10 years. Property value, it gives you, I think, up to 50, between 50 and 200, and 200 to 300 or 300 plus. So it gives you some different options. And the equity percentage, I think it gives you 20, 40, 50%, something along those lines. So you can highlight all those things on the map if you want to look for specific properties, which is kind of nice because then it helps you target the ones that might actually fit with your parameters. Now, how to drive for dollars, driving around your community, looking for properties that have been neglected or might be vacant. Now, I see a lot of people that are like, I really like such and such neighborhood, so I'm going to go drive there. And then they drive around for a few hours and they really don't get many items on the list. And the worst thing you can do is drive around for a few hours and not really have many leads to show for it. That can be a real waste of time. So what typically is happening in that case is that people are going to neighborhoods that are like A and B neighborhoods that maybe they wouldn't mind living in. They'd love to buy a house in that neighborhood. They would love to buy a rental in that neighborhood. So they go to the wrong neighborhood and there's not enough there for them to actually get enough leads from it to actually get a deal because it's just not the right neighborhood for it. And what you're really looking for is things like long grass, overgrown bushes, missing gutters, broken windows, city or county notices, bad roofs. You know, if you see the tarp, obviously that's a classic sign. Abandoned cars out front, for rent or sale signs, you know, anything that would be an indication that maybe somebody might be in dire straits of some sort, not have the money to fix up their property, or maybe is already trying to get rid of it or find some sort of monetary return from it, like by renting. You know, you're going to be looking for those sorts of things. And you're going to find those more so in like a C neighborhood, for example. So you'd stay in like the C neighborhoods, or those neighborhoods that are maybe on that cycle where they're a much older neighborhood and a lot of the houses probably haven't been renovated, but you're starting to see some renovation activity going on in the area. That would be a really good neighborhood to be in. All right, and these are the different templates that they have that you can send out for mailing. And so you can see here the image with the picture, and you know, you can choose different things, you can customize them in there, you can make your own. So there's a number of different options in there. Now, how to add properties on the phone app and the computer. So this I went through and just did a video as I was walking through, so I'll just kind of narrate as we go. Hopefully it's not going to be blurry like that. Okay, good. So this is looking at the map view. Again, this is the same on the computer in the website portion of, I don't know, the app per se, but it's a website version and it looks just like it looks on the phone version, at least on iPhone. I'm not sure if it looks different on Android, but you can see here the different options that I was going through before. So you can highlight or not highlight the properties. You know, absentee, owner occupied, corporate. You can do the date sold, property value. I was a little off on my numbers, and the equity percentage. So all of those options, and then once you have what you want on there, and again, you can select satellite if you want. And once you have what you want, you're going to look at it and you can start the driving. You can see I started the driving. So at the top, it's actually counting down the time that I'm driving. And normally I'd be in the car if I was using this mode because you want to drive down the street and actually look for properties, but there's a few different modes. So this first one is the pinning mode. And as you drive, if you see a house that you like, you're just going to locate it as you drive by it on the map and just click on it. And it gives you the owner information. This one says it's absentee owned. It allowed me to add the property. I chose not to start the mailers because you don't have to. So there you see, this is opening up that property in person, the owner card. And I'm just going to go through the different options here so you can see. So you can make sure that you have the right address. You can start the mailers. You can use the enhanced search to skip trace. So I went ahead and skip traced that. You can see over on the right, there's a comments and notes activity sort of field. So it just said I use the enhanced search, so I can see that. And if I want to add a note in there, then I can. If I need to change the owner's name, I can do that. These are all the different deal statuses that I can choose from. And then you can choose from the different templates. And you can repeat your mailing or not. It's going to repeat automatically on a 21-day cycle, so you can select all that. And then again, if you need to correct anything in here, it gives you the option to do that. You don't just have to use the data that was returned. It gives you another option to start the mailers. These are the different, well, this was the one that was selected on this one, so it would add the picture in there if I had taken a picture. And then it'll show you if there's any recent sale information, the tax information, any other property information that it's returning, which is kind of nice. And you can add some tags if you want to be able to search by something specific. And here's where it returned the phone number and the email address for this person. Now this was just, oh, and that says bad email. And when I clicked on the phone number, it said bad number. So I'm not 100% sure the data is really great. I haven't really tested the data too much in this. I've always used somebody externally, but just be aware of that. I'm not exactly sure how it comes up with bad email and bad phone number. Maybe somebody else put it in there and it updates, but anyways, here you can see that I can make a note in this little section. If I wanted to use this as a CRM, I could put my notes about times that I've spoken with the property seller and how that went, and then just update it as I'm going through. So here's where it acts like a CRM, which is kind of nice if you want to keep everything in one spot. Again, you can easily connect it with Podio or another CRM as well. And here, if you want to, you can either upload a photo if you haven't had one, and like if you maybe neglected to take one, you went back out to take one or something, you could upload one, or if you got one from online, or you can add to your subscription where it'll pull in automatically pictures for any that don't have any. And that comes from the Google Street View, which sometimes works well and sometimes returns the property across the street or a piece of land. So you never really know with that, but that is an option. It's $20 extra a month. So you can see I just deleted that one, which is pretty easy. If you add one accidentally, you can delete it. It's not a problem. It doesn't cost you any money to add anything, only if you send mail or if you skip trace. But here's an example of one someone on our team did, and he took a picture of it. So you can see here what it would look like. You see his car there a little bit. So this is like real time, like this came out of somebody drove by your house and took a picture. So a little bit more personalized than doing it with a Google Street View. But you can see there all the different properties that people have added for our team. And then I can filter if I want to by different statuses, different people that are on the team. So going back to the map, so that was the pin view or the pin mode. So now we're going to go into the crosshairs mode. And this is neat. So if you want to just kind of scan over an area and see what you see, you just drag the map around. And so notice as I go here, it's pulling up different records as it drags across. So that's something that you could do if you want to look at it that way. And then the last one is the tap to pin mode. And so, or tap to add. So this just means that when you click it, it automatically adds it. So if you just want to make it faster as you're driving around, so you don't have to click, yes, I want you to add it. So same thing there, and I'm just deleting that one. And if you want to export your deals, you can do that. That's what I usually do, is export them and put them in other formats. All right, and I can stop my drive. Do make sure you stop your drive, because otherwise it'll track you driving all over the place when you leave where you're actually driving for dollars. All right, so that was that one. Let me see if I can go back here. Uh-oh. Well, that was accidental. Okay, so then this one is how to drive for dollars virtually from home. So I will do the same with this quick video. All right, so this one is going to utilize that extension that I showed you earlier that you just download from the Chrome store. And you just go to Google Maps, as you can see I'm doing here, and I decided I was going to go look in Sanford. And I do this the wrong way first, and then I do it the right way. So what I'm doing here is I just picked a place, and I don't really know where I'm going. I'm picking a place. So I clicked on the little person to get the street view, and here I am in this neighborhood. Now, notice the image capture down at the bottom right. It says that it was July 2018. So these images are a couple years old. Honestly, this is one of the cons of trying to drive virtually. So I really like to go after neighborhoods that have gotten a picture in the past year. Ideally 2020, but later in 2019 would be fine. That's kind of the limit of what I would want to do. But you can see I'm just kind of driving around here, and as I do that, I'm like not really finding anything because I just randomly selected a place. So instead, the right way to do this is to go find out where all the cash sales are, so you know where it's going to be good neighborhoods to go after this stuff, especially if you're going to be wholesaling properties, because you want to make sure that you're buying properties or looking for properties where other investors want to buy. Obviously, if other investors want to buy there, you as an investor want to buy there as well if you're buying for yourself. So you can see here I'm going to list source, and I selected the county. I selected 100% equity. I'm selecting here in the last, usually I do in the last 6 months, but I'm going to do the last 3 months since COVID has been hitting. So let's see where people are buying like more recently. And then I pick the property type, and you can do whatever you want in here, but I'm just looking for single family residential. And then to the options, I want absentee owned, not homeowner owned. And I don't want to have any preference for corporate. And then I'll purchase. Now, this doesn't mean that I'm actually purchasing the list. I'm just going to be messing with the data. You can purchase the list, but you don't really need to. So here I'm going to purchase partial list, custom selection, and I'm going to look by zip code. And all I'm going to do is export this. So it's going to send to my email. And then here's the spreadsheet. So I'm taking each one of these. This is how many cash sales in the last 3 months in each of these zip codes. So I'm turning each one of these into a percentage. I'm just going to copy that formula to all of those. And then I'm going to arrange from the greatest percentage down to the least, so the largest to smallest sorting. And you can see there 11% and 32808. So good practice is to take the top 5, start with the top 1, and then go down from there. But usually the top 5 are pretty hot. So I'm just going to go ahead and put that one zip code in. And granted, I did Seminole before with Sanford, so I should have probably done consistently in Seminole for this, but that's all right. So there's 32808. That's our Pine Hills area. We know that's very popular with investors, so good neighborhood to be looking around in. I'm going to take the little guide, and you see that it shows the street information on there when I click it. That's the only way that I can go into the street view that way if I want to look at it that way. But you can just go to a street view and start driving and use the thing to add. If you've never used this before, it's very functional. It's easy to get around with. You just point and click, twist around, and oh, look, there's a nice one. And this picture was taken in June 2019. And so I'm going to add this one. It looks like it could probably use a little bit of love. And so I open this up with my extension on my Chrome bar, and you can see that it gives me different options in case it has the wrong address tagged to that image. And so I can find the one that looks like it and say, yep, that's the one. So there you go. So I have now added that to my list, and I can continue driving virtually. So it took me back out to this map view, but again, you could just go into the straight street view. So driving some more here, and I did this very quickly. I wasn't really taking my time to do it right, but just so you kind of see how it works. And something caught my eye. Here's some older homes right here that look like I would probably want to send them something or call them. I'm going to add both of those actually. Makes it super easy. And then out. So just be aware that it keeps kicking me out when I'm doing it that way. So there you go. That's the end of that one. And then, oh my goodness, now I gotta go back to, figure out how to do that and come back into the presentation properly. All right, so now we go to what your action plan for success is. If this is something that you want to do, then you should expect that it's going to take at least 300 properties added, decent properties that really do have some signs of distress to get a deal, which is roughly 50 to 75 per hour of driving. You can actually do more in some neighborhoods, but 50 to 75 is a reasonable expectation per hour if you're driving the right neighborhoods. If you're getting far less than that, then be aware you may just be in one of those neighborhoods that's not really that great for this. Doesn't mean you can't find something, but if you're not finding them quickly enough, then you could be wasting a lot of time and not generating enough leads to make a difference. So just be aware of that for yourself, and then also for anybody that you might hire to be on your team. Set a schedule for yourself or your team members so that you'll be able to set your KPI goals and stick to them. So you need to ask how many properties you want to be added each week or month so that you can get to your goals. And when are the driving times going to be? If it's somebody on your team, you know, it might be flexible. It depends on what works well for your business. But I would say if you're going to do it, make sure you block out multiple times per week that you're going to be able to go out and do this in a proactive way. Be selective about the areas you drive. As I mentioned before, don't waste time on neighborhoods that are less likely to have a lot of leads. You can always add a random property if you see one somewhere, but you know, don't be thinking about trying to go drive all the fancy neighborhoods just to see what you find, because that's just really for fun. That would not be for a real business purpose at the end of the day. So just keep that in mind. And then once you have your list, or let's say you're driving by and you see a property, or even you're driving by virtually and I saw that property that I added to the list. Do whatever you can now to get in touch with them as fast as possible. So if you're driving by directly in person, you could just pull up and get out of your car and go knock on the door and say, hey, I'm looking to buy something in the area. I was wondering if you might know anybody that's selling. And it doesn't even have to be focused on them or put them on their guard. It can just be a general question. You just happen to stop by and we're wondering if somebody in the neighborhood might be looking to sell their property. The next is texting and calling. So obviously you can skip trace right there in the app, get the information in 2 seconds flat, and you can try reaching out to them from your phone right there in front of the house if you want to. You know, best case scenario, you get them either door knocking or texting or calling, and you get to walk up to the house and get a contract signed. That would be ideal. You can email them. But email, I don't know if that would really necessarily get open as much. I mean, that's just my take on it. I know a lot of people that do use email very effectively, but I don't know for this purpose how well that would work. But whatever you do, excuse me. Oh my goodness. Whatever you do, make sure that you follow up with people, because it doesn't just take one touch for most people to be able to convert into a deal. And this is where a lot of investors fail, is that they just don't follow up. They figure, hey, I talked to the person, they weren't interested, or they're not ready to go anytime soon, or they wanted retail pricing, and then they just give up on the lead. The way that people win in this business is not really by finding the low-hanging fruit that are ready to go today. It's more so by finding the people that they followed up with over time. The industry standard is around 5 contacts with a person before they're ready to convert. So you really need to make sure that you do have a follow-up system that you're going to go after these people with. And again, this is the most targeted list you can possibly have. So make sure that you make good use of it. You're going to be spending your time or other people's time, definitely some money if you're hiring other people to do it. You know, you need to make sure that you're really going after it. So don't shoot yourself in the foot by building a nice list and then not effectively marketing to it. And if you don't have the time or knowledge to close deals, send them to us. As I said before, we'll be happy to go after them and close them and make sure that you get cut in on the deal. And again, if you want to learn from working with us, then, you know, if there's some stuff that you want to do, if you want to make the phone call, the text, the door knocking, and then send it over to us for follow-up if you don't get any results, but it looks like it might be a possible opportunity in the future, then we can certainly take over at different parts in the scenario as well. We can help you with negotiations. We can do a lot of stuff. So, you know, it just depends on the person. We want to make sure that we're all a good fit to work together, obviously. But if you do want to be on our team, then definitely feel free to reach out. All right, and then resources, just to kind of cap off in case you need any of this stuff. If you are going to be driving for dollars and maybe door knocking or texting and trying to get the contract while you're there, then you might want to check out the wholesaler dot kit that Joseph Siegel, our attorney, provided. After working with a number of wholesalers and finding that they all had paperwork issues and they weren't really protecting themselves very well, and they were having deals fall out because they weren't protected, and a lot of people coming to him saying, you know, oh, I don't want to spend $3,000 to have my paperwork prepared for me. Don't you just have a copy of something that I could use? So he prepared this so that it's got everything that you could possibly need to get a contract, sell a contract, close on a deal yourself, be able to protect yourself, put something in public records. You know, there's so much stuff in there that would be beneficial to you. And it's only a few $100s. So I definitely think it's well worth it if you're looking for paperwork. So check that out at REILiveOrlando.com/wholesaler.kit. And again, if you want to sign up for Deal Machine, either with us or with the promotional link, those are there as well. And if you need any other resources, obviously reach out and ask us. You can get us at info@REILiveOrlando.com or at Facebook, or Marlena or Josh at REILiveOrlando.com. So I'll just kind of leave that there for now. Does anybody have any questions about anything that I've gone over, or is anybody using it in a way that you might want to give some tips that maybe I missed? Any messages, Josh? Okay, well, I'll assume that nobody has any questions. I will tell you, if you want to learn more about these features or get another demo, a demo video of it, they have a bunch of them through Deal Machine. If you just go to their YouTube page, it does look like we have a question, but you can always go and check that out. They have them, you know, there's a playlist on there that you can check out, and they're in little bite-sized chunks, so you can see a lot of this walkthrough with their team as well. What was the question, Josh?
How many deals have you closed with this app?
Not very many, because we haven't used it in volume. We've mostly just driven a little bit ourselves when we enjoy doing it, and then we send those out. And we do have some team members, but most everybody is just kind of doing it here and there a little bit. So I wouldn't say we have, you know, really done it in a severe way. We mostly do direct mail in our business, and we do some cold calling and some texting. We do some drive for dollars, but it's just another list that we put together, and it's kind of a niche list for us. So we are actually looking to expand. That's why we're putting it out there. If anybody wants to join our team, we're trying to be more proactive about using this as a real strategy. But I do know a lot of other people that are using it, and they're closing a lot of deals off of it. It's one of their primary models in their business these days. And really, again, it just comes down to having a really targeted list, and then whatever method you use to go after it, just being really assertive about going after it.
David Knight's also asking, what's the dollar spent per deal?
Dollar spent per deal. Well, I mean, it depends on how long you drive and how many people, like if you're paying people. So it's really going to depend on what your structure looks like. But let's say it was just you, and you have just the basic tier of the program. So it's, you know, $50 a month. And let's say you skip trace elsewhere, so you can save money over this. You know, you can get easily skip tracing through batch skip tracing for 18 cents. If you use the TTP code, or there's many codes out there, you might even be able to get it cheaper than that. So let's say you skip trace it that way, and you've got maybe 1,000 that you've built up, and you skip trace that, you know, what's that? I can't do math in my head right now, but whatever that is, if you had $180. Okay, so, you know, you'd add that together, and then any of your time, however you're going to value your time for actually doing the driving, that's always important to add in there, obviously. And then, you know, anything that you're going to spend money on to get to the deal would be added into that. But compared to doing something like direct mail, compared to doing something like hiring somebody else to do cold calling for you, or cold texting, that sort of thing, this is, I think, a much cheaper method of getting the best list that you can, and then skip trace it and go after it. So it's very, very, very highly targeted. So I would say it costs a lot less overall. But again, it comes down to, you know, what are you doing in your business to use this? If you're hiring a whole team of people, that could get very expensive if you don't know how to close deals very well. So then it turns into a closing ratio sort of thing as well. So you need to make sure that you know how to close deals before you go hire people. again, those KPIs are always very, very important. Make sure that you know what you're doing in your business before you try and hire other people to do it, because otherwise you'll waste a lot of money on people and you won't know how to train them because you don't know how to do it yourself yet. All right, any other questions?
Yes. Have you heard about this on Bigger Pockets?
I don't really visit Bigger Pockets. I haven't, I mean, I have, but not for very, very long. So no, I haven't heard about it on there, but I'm sure they're talking about it on there. There's a lot of people out there that are talking about it. It's a really great app, and they have really, over the past few years, developed it more and more so. So it's more and more versatile and does more things. When I first started using it, it was kind of glitchy. And so I had some issues with it and I almost stopped using it, but then they started making changes and making it better. So I think it's a really great app today. And I think everybody should use it, really. There's no reason not to. Okay, if there's no more questions, or it looks like we just had another one. Okay.
Unrelated to Deal Machine, how do you stay safe as a female if you are door knocking or going to look at a property yourself?
Well, I have, most of the time, if I'm knocking on a door, somebody is with me. It's very seldom that I'll actually go somewhere unless it looks like there's a woman's name that owns it, or there's a husband and wife. Sometimes I'll knock on those doors and not feel too uncomfortable about it. But usually I just try and be aware of my surroundings. You know, if I'm in a bad neighborhood, I'm probably not going to get out of my car and go knock on the door. So, you know, there's a lot that comes into consideration with that. But, you know, I've gone places and knocked on doors with my daughter when she was a young teenager. So sometimes just having somebody with you, it's very unassuming. You just knock on the door and step back and make sure that you're trying not to knock on any doors that look sketchy, I guess would be my best advice. Of course, it's always a good idea to, you know how to protect yourself, defend yourself. And if you're at all concerned, then don't do it. I know there's been some times in the past where I was totally fine going to a house in a neighborhood to go look at it, that it was vacant, and Josh would not let me go because he was concerned about the neighborhood. So I try to be aware and listen to what other people say, you know, try to make sure that somebody always knows where you're going. When you walk up to a house, be on the phone with somebody so that they know that you're there walking up to a house. And when you knock on the door, it's a good idea to be on the phone so that whoever answers knows that somebody knows you're there. But again, if there's any doubt in your mind that you should be getting out of your car to go knock on a door, don't do it. You can always call or text them from your car if need be. And if they seem normal, then you can go up to the door after that.
Do you see any trend for more wholesale deals because of the coronavirus?
Yeah, actually, I mean, we've been reaching back out to everybody in our system that a couple of months ago said no, you know, maybe in 6 months or a year. And we're reaching back out to them today very assertively because things change all the time. I mean, that's the nature of motivation. It is going to change. Life is going to change. Unexpected things are going to happen. And now a really unexpected thing just hit our whole world and is causing a lot of havoc for a lot of people. So I have personally noticed, and I've heard from everybody else in the business that we're connected with, that there are a lot more wholesale opportunities out there right now because people just need to liquidate their properties. You know, I hear a lot of people talk about creative deals as well, and we still do those. I mean, if it's appropriate for the situation, we still do it. But just know there's deal opportunities out there, especially right now because things are kind of crazy. You know, like wholesaling doesn't go away just because things change in the economy. You just have to change your numbers and make sure that you're getting in at the right price. Aside from that, you know, there's always going to be deals. And when things go haywire, there's going to be more deals.
I would say our last deal that we just put out to our buyers is because of the COVID, and well, our last couple ones that we're getting are because of COVID, and we have landlords that are dealing with tenants not paying the rent, and they were already kind of like tired of being landlords, and this has kind of pushed them over the edge.
Yeah.
So if you're looking for a deal in Daytona, I got a deal for you.
Yeah, we have a deal in Daytona, a deal in DeLand. We've got a deal in Sebastian, although that's more of a retail opportunity. So if you know anybody that's looking for something in Barefoot Bay, then, you know, we have a great deal down there that, well, we own it. So it's not a deal. It's a property that we own that we're selling. But we have a nice house in DeLand that could be a good rental, or you could fix it up just a little bit and flip it. And then we have the rental in Daytona. But yeah, as Josh was saying, I mean, the rental in Daytona, the person stopped paying their rent in February. So the seller is just very fed up and is ready to let go of it and just cut their losses. So they said, hey, can you take this off our hands? And the price that we're buying it at is really, really reasonable. And that was their price. And so we were all very happy to be doing the deal. So yeah, tons of opportunities out there, especially right now. And this is a great strategy to use to go after them. And if you think about it, anybody that's having distress in their home that you can visibly see from the street already is probably going to be one of those people that is having extra distress in their life right now.
Great question from Kelly. How do you wholesale a property with a current tenant who's not paying rent if your new buyer won't be able to evict them?
Great question. So at least here in Volusia County where we live, they're opening up the eviction courts, I believe, next week. And you can start to evict, but not for non-payment of rent. So, you know, if you have a month-to-month tenant, for example, we have one of these that he thinks he's going to get to stay till September because he supposedly talked to an attorney and he keeps throwing it in our faces. And we're like, okay, well, you know, you're holding over the tenancy because you've already been told that your tenancy is over. So we can evict him. We just have to wait for the court to be processing the evictions again, which they're coming up soon. So we can't evict him for non-payment, but if you're buying a house and you know that the person is on month to month, then you can buy even if they're not paying and you can evict them. What we do actually to make sure to protect ourselves or to protect an end buyer if we're going to sell the deal is we hold back. And we used to do 3,000, but now we're doing 5,000 because you never know if it might take a little bit longer with COVID stuff going on. Kind of offers some extra cushion, but we hold back $5,000 in escrow with the title company. And then we wait a period. I think it usually says in our contract, but we change it depending on the situation, up to 3 months. So we might change it to 6 months or something, whatever makes sense to offer additional protection in the deal. And then if the tenant moves out without us having to evict, all that money goes back to the seller. In fact, we've never had a situation where we had to use the money. We've always had to go back to the seller because we've been able to work something out with the person who was living there. Sometimes a little bit of cash for keys will help. Sometimes just giving them the time to move. Sometimes just being a friendly person and just trying to help them look for another place and better situation. If you are a problem solver, then it's going to be easy to put that together and hopefully work out the details with everybody. Because people that are holding over a property and not paying know that it's going to come back and bite them at some point. So they kind of expect that. So if you can work with them, then that's great. But holding back that money just in case something goes haywire and you have to use it to evict is a good thing. And we'll do that as well. If the tenant they seem like they're going to be a real problem and they might damage the property, we might still close on it, but hold back $10,000 or $15,000 or $20,000. Whatever the potential risk is, we'll make sure that that's worked into the deal. And then, if everything goes well, the seller gets all of that back. That's always going to be what we strive to do. If not, then it reimburses our actual expenses and then they get the balance. Any other questions? Okay. Well, it looks like that's it for this evening. Again, you're welcome to reach out to us anytime if you have any questions outside of these things that we're doing. We don't have next week's event set up yet, but we are planning on doing one. So we will get that out to you in the coming days as we get all the details lined up. But I hope you're enjoying these opportunities to meet with us. We're loving that we can connect with you all more with a virtual environment than what we would have been able to do in person. So, COVID's kind of been nice to help us connect more. Oh, looks like we do have another. No? Okay. All right. Well, we'll let you all go for the evening. Thank you so much for your time and for joining us. And if you want to check out any of these videos after the fact, I keep forgetting to mention, but I've posted them on our YouTube page. So just go check out REI Live Orlando YouTube page and you can see any of the previous ones that we've done. So we hope to see you all next week. Hope you have a wonderful evening and we'll talk to you soon.